Welcome to the Beyond Sugar Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Dame, holistic nutrition coach and speaker. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode on the Beyond Sugar Freedom podcast. Today's episode is especially special. This is a very different episode than we've been doing over the last couple of weeks because if you haven't already heard, registration is officially open for the next couple of days for my next emotional empowerment live group coaching program. Only open until April 14th because we're getting started on the 18th with a whole new group of incredible women supporting each other in doing the inner work that ultimately lies at the root of our patterns and addictions with food and sugar. So such an exciting week over here at Danny HQ at the headquarters. Registration just opened yesterday and is only open for the next couple of days. And I wanted to record a very special episode for any of you who have been following along with my most recent boot camp from last week. If you haven't yet, you can still register and get access to all the replays. The breakthroughs and feedback from that bootcamp were out of this world. And what we're going to be diving into for those who jump in and join us in the emotional empowerment program is really a much deeper dive into the action and the actual shifts and tools that we need to put in place to rewire our neural pathways to feel and think and be different in a way that makes it easy and effortless to say no to sugar and to look after ourselves and prioritize our self-care and all these amazing things. So I want to dive into that in this episode and share for any of you who are curious to know more about who this program is for, what it's all about, what we're going to be diving into, and if you're at the end of this really connecting and knowing that you're someone that needs this accountability and needs this support and wants to come in and have me as your guide as we do this really powerful, deep work together, I would love to have you in the program. So I will post a link to get registered. Again, it's only open until April 14th. So just a couple days now. So it's a quick turnaround, but hopefully you can get in and save a spot before it fills up. So really excited to offer this. And before I dive into all the things that I wanted to really touch on today, and I really want to talk more beyond just what to expect in the program, we're going to be talking about today some pieces that I've really come to realize over the last 6 years, really summing up what I've seen as the missing piece for everyone who's trying to get off the sugar roller coaster, or it's trying to build a healthy relationship with food, with themselves. I'm going to share a little bit about what that is, and also some pieces from the boot camp that I just did last week around how we actually create lasting change in any area of our life, not just with food or our health, but actually any area, and where most of you listening are probably going wrong. You're probably focusing on the wrong area in trying to make change, which keeps you hitting your head against the wall year after year, never actually moving forward or taking these steps and noticing a shift. So I'm going to share some of those pieces with you, and then I'm going to share more about the program with you in today's episode. Before I do, I want to mention something really exciting about the emotional empowerment program. This is really a labor of such love. This is going to be what I'm calling version 2.0 of a 6-week program that I actually created about 3 or 4 years ago and hosted live, and really saw the results and the shifts that happen when we do this inner work, and how it makes these external decisions and habits and choices around food so much easier. And over the last 3 years, there have been so many monumental pieces that I've been on in my own healing journey that I knew in my heart I had to revamp this whole program. So this is a totally new and improved version of the old program. So if any of you took that old program, just know that this is going to be next level. I am recreating and refilming and really packing this program filled with things that I've learned in my own healing journey, in healing my inner child, healing really the deep disconnection and emotions and pieces that are still kind of hanging on, driving me in my current challenges too. So it's going to be jam-packed, and I'm really excited to be recreating this. And we're actually going to kind of co-create it a little bit for the group that does join, and the women who do jump into the program. You will have a say in what areas we dive deeper into. And I really am excited to be able to do that. So reminder, registration closes on the 14th, and we're getting started week 1 on April 18th. Perfect time for a spring reset and a a spring deep dive, right? Okay. So as I promised, what I really want to start this episode with, other than the excitement and the teaser that I just did, is really sharing with you again. And I know those of you who have been listening to this podcast for a while, you might have already started to put this piece together. But if this is maybe your first episode you're listening to, or you haven't heard me say this before, I love this reminder. Okay. And this is what we went into in the emotional eating boot camp that just happened last week. Really, really deep understanding that our relationship with food has nothing to do with food and everything to do with our relationship with ourselves. And what I mean by that is, over the last 6 years in my work, not only on myself, my own journey, but with countless hundreds of women and clients who've been through my programs and I've worked one-on-one with and guided in this journey to food freedom. Essentially, that's what we're talking about here: peace and freedom and connection with food in a different way that isn't controlling us anymore. And in this journey, about 2 or 3 years into working with clients and my own struggles with sugar addiction, I really started to notice a pattern evolving that everyone would do great. We'd get them off sugar. It'd be 30 or 60 or 90 days. They'd be feeling great. And then something would happen. There would be some sort of event or difficult challenge or some vacation. Something would happen. And immediately they would go back into these old habits and patterns, right back into eating sugar, right back into using ice cream to numb out at the end of the night, right back into emotional eating. And I really, really couldn't ignore this. I became really fascinated with uncovering why, even though we get sugar out of our body and we feel amazing, maybe you've done it for a year and you feel amazing. Why then, when something happens in our life that's challenging or difficult, do we just immediately go back into those old patterns? So I became really, really fascinated with uncovering these root causes and uncovering, hey, we need to look below the surface. We're focusing on this surface level, just staying away from sugar, this physical piece in our 3D reality, when really what's controlling our behaviors and decisions is our subconscious mind. And we cannot ignore the patterns and the neural pathways that have been there since childhood that are actually driving our every decision. So this is where I became really fascinated. And I actually started building in this, what I call inner work, or these root cause discovery and exploration and healing into the work that I was doing with my clients. And now, over the last 3 years, I've been really weaving this in with the food conversation in the detox, obviously getting off of sugar, clearing your body out, which is important, and really weaving in these deeper conversations and these deeper healing pieces, the inner work that everyone was ignoring. Because let's be honest, this inner work stuff is hard. Okay. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not fun. It's not easy to learn how to feel again, to have to look at your traumas, to have to really understand your belief systems and where you might be out of alignment in your life and where you're not setting healthy boundaries. All of this stuff can be a bit tricky, which is why, I became so passionate helping women and creating groups and environments, just like the upcoming emotional empowerment program, where we can navigate these tricky situations and the difficult parts together in a supportive, loving, and safe environment, which most of us have never had. So this is really, if you can't tell already, my serious passion, and why I knew I wanted to create a program, which is exactly what the emotional empowerment program is, where we just focus on this inner work. Because ultimately, the food stuff, our decisions around eating sugar, our impulses, our cravings, our eating healthy, building meal planning habits, and all of that stuff is very 3D physical. This is really surface level stuff. Okay. And ultimately, if we can rewire our neural pathways, if we can really shift from the inside out, and I'm going to share a little bit more about, that I think this will make sense in just a minute. I'm going to share a pyramid with you, but, really, if we do that, if we shift from the inside out, those external patterns, reaching for food, craving sugar, binging late at night because we've had a stressful day, those patterns just naturally shift. When we've shifted on the inside, who we are and how we operate and how we think and behave, those things naturally shift. It becomes easier to make those choices and decisions. So I believe that this is step one. in this journey to sugar and food freedom, we must first do the inner work. And then, yes, we do need to get into cleaning up our diet and getting to these places. But once we have this foundation from within and this new sense of empowerment and confidence and self-love and these new tools, when difficult things show up, it's easier when we take away our crutch, which is sugar, right? It's easier when we do the detox, when we clean out our physical body. It's actually really effortless to go into that and do that. So that's what we're doing in this program, is just focusing on the inner work. It's going to be a radical new way of looking at food freedom, because we're not actually going to be talking about food. I'm not going to tell you what to eat. You don't even have to give up sugar. It's going to be so freeing and rewarding to kind of approach this journey with a sense of self-love and compassion and curiosity, instead of willpower and fighting and continuing that war against food. So I really want to highlight one thing here that I think will just sum up, everything that I just said. And I go way deeper into this in actually day one of the boot camp. Again, you can still register. I'll make sure the link is below to get the replays. They're only available until the 14th as well, but you can rewatch those videos for free. And I went and showed the DILTS pyramid of logical levels pyramid. And I love this pyramid because we can apply it to all sorts of things in our lives, but really when I first learned about this, it blew my mind. It helped me really understand that change in my life that I was trying to make and never being quite successful to make, maybe as a new habit I was trying to build, or just a new way of eating, right? And it just never stuck until I started tapping into the upper levels of this pyramid. So what most people are doing, and I know I'm going to have to verbally describe this because you can't see me. Imagine a pyramid. Okay. And at the bottom of the pyramid, you have your environment. And this is where most of us first start trying to make change. We try changing our environment. We move, we change jobs, right? Maybe we shop at a different grocery store that has healthier foods, right? We're physically changing where we are in our environment. Maybe you're also hiding snacks in the basement. You're not leaving them in your kitchen, right? So those sorts of physical environmental shifts are that base level. The one just above that is behavior. So this is usually the next level that people will attempt to make change from, is changing your behavior. So I'm going to change like what I do in the morning. I'm going to start meditating when I first get up in the morning, or I'm going to spend every Sunday meal planning, right, for the week. This is kind of where we get into habit building and really starting to try to change, how we operate every day. The level just above that is attempting to change our skills. So we start looking at skills like, oh, maybe I just need to learn more about sugar. I need to learn about nutrition. Maybe I need to learn how to cook, right? We start to try to build skills. Maybe I need to learn how to go for a run, right? And train my body to do different things. So we start looking then outside of ourselves for new skills that maybe we're missing. Maybe that's what's keeping us from really shifting and reaching our goals. So these are the three base levels of the pyramid: environment, behavior, and skills. And this is where most people, myself included in the past, will try to make change. We'll stay in these bottom three levels, attempting to change our environment, maybe learning a new skill, changing our behavior. And what happens is these lower levels are extremely inefficient in terms of actually making lasting change. These are areas that you're going to stay in the hamster wheel of attempting year after year, every January 1st, trying to make a change and never quite getting there, because they're not actually driving your decisions and choices. These, like I talked about with the food and the detoxing from sugar, that is a surface level. That is the result of what's happening underneath, not the actual base level operating system. When we think of our subconscious mind and where our choices and impulses and decisions come from, it's actually when we start to tap into the upper two levels of this pyramid. So we're going to keep going up the pyramid. And I shared this on bootcamp day one, and it just blew everybody's mind because seems so simple, but it's so eye-opening to start identifying like, wow, no wonder I've never been able to make this change stick in any area of your life. By the way, this isn't just with food. This is every area of your life. This is about how to create lasting change. And it has to start happening in the top two levels. So the next level up is where we start tapping into our belief systems and our values. And I want you to think of our belief systems as essentially our guides to decision-making. Our beliefs are those neural pathways that tell us how the world works, how we operate in the world, what we should and shouldn't do. And these are created in the first 7 years of life. Our brain really makes sense of the world, what's going to keep us safe, what's dangerous, how do I show up and how do I fit into this society so that I fit in, right? And people love me and I'm accepted and all these things. We have a whole collection of very unsupporting, limiting beliefs that are operating and driving our behaviors to go to food. So this beliefs and values area is really vital to start shifting and creating new versions and really understanding who you are at your core, which goes into the top level of this pyramid, which is your identity. Okay, this is where all the magic happens. If you literally can shift who you are, and actually let me rephrase that, because you're not changing who you are. What you're actually doing is uncovering your true self. Most of us have endless layers of societal conditioning that have shifted us and shaped us into a false version of ourselves. And when we can start unraveling and uncovering our true authentic self, which by the way is nothing but love and kindness and joy and light, that is at the root for all of us, even when we're struggling. When we can really tap into who we are and a sense of love and compassion for who we are, and knowing that sense of who we are, that is where real change happens. So for example, if you're wanting to be someone who no longer needs sugar at the end of the day, or can easily say no to a cookie if someone offers you, or just, I know a lot of you out there are like, I can't imagine just having one. So imagine if you're that person that just eats one cookie. All of these are identities, right? I am a person who doesn't need sugar every day. I am a person who loves to eat healthy. I am someone who loves to cook and experiment with whole real foods. I love looking after my body. I am healthy. These are identities. And when you operate from that sense of self and who you are, the natural things that happen are your skills change, your behaviors change, your environment change. It starts trickling down naturally without effort. I want you to think of this example, if you're, and I know a lot of you listening might be in this camp right now where you're identifying and your true sense of self right now is failure. Maybe you're just unhealthy and you're a sugar addict and you're never going to get off the sugar roller coaster and it's just going to be a struggle the rest of your life. If that's how you're operating and that's how you're living your life every day, then your environment outside of that is going to reflect that. If you changed your operating sense, and identity, if you change that from the deep level of identity, those pieces around being healthy fall into place. So this is really hard to describe simply, in a quick little synopsis, but I hope that made sense. So what we have to start doing is focusing on those upper levels. Okay. And I love this. My business mentor always calls this the be, do, have model. So how the universe works, and actually this is the law of energy in the universe, is we first have to be the version of ourselves that will do the things that will create what we want to have in our life. So if you want to have a healthy relationship with sugar, with food, and peace with food, you have to first look at who you're being that's creating that unhealthy pattern right now. Because how you're showing up for yourself now and how you're being and identifying, how you're literally operating every day is creating those external pieces that you're seeing externally. So this is exactly what this program is all about. The emotional empowerment program is going to help you dive so deep into shifting who you actually are and how you look after yourself and how you show up for yourself and how you stand up for yourself. This is really why I threw the word empowerment in here, because you're going to be shifting into becoming an emotionally empowered woman. And that is going to be one of the most freeing journeys that you have ever been on in your life. Uncovering who you truly are, loving who you truly are, and knowing from inside out that you are a healthy person. You are the person that loves eating whole real foods, right? Building these new identities for yourself and releasing and letting go of the toxic beliefs, the toxic values, and the old identities that no longer serve you. I love kind of summing this up as like, what we're going to be doing over the 8 weeks in the program is shifting you into version 2.0 of yourself or version 4.0, whatever version you're on. We're going to shift into that next level version of yourself that actually operates in the way that you desire, and is in alignment with the goals that you want. And something really important I want to point out here as well, as we're talking about this program and how to make real lasting change, is the deep understanding, okay, that you do not need more information. You don't even need this podcast. I'm going to say that. I hope you keep listening, but you don't need this. You do not need this podcast. You do not need more information. Okay. I know so many people out there making this is the biggest mistake I see every human being making. And I've made this many times myself, is believing that if I just learn one more thing, if I just read one more book or find that one podcast episode or find that one thing, that's going to change everything for me. That's where the solution is. We assume that just by learning more knowledge or learning more information, our lives will change. And it can, but the only reason that anything ever changes in our life is when we actually take action, an inspired action, the right action with the right guidance. Okay, so I want all of you right now to commit to shifting out of information gathering mode and commit to starting to take action. I mean, how many of us, my hand is up, have read a book and loved it and found the message so powerful? And at the end of every chapter of the book, there was something for you to do. There was like a journal prompt or an activity or a meditation or an exercise. How many times have we just flipped that page and kept reading? So this is exactly what's missing for all of us, right? If there's ever something that we need, want to shift or transform, we need to get out of soaking up more information, because you already know what you need. You already know what you need to do to be healthy. You need to eat whole, real foods. You need to get off sugar. You need to hydrate and sleep and move your body. We know these things, but the actual application of new tools and resources and actually building new neural pathways, taking the action in our lives, actually sitting down and meditating, sitting down and journaling, actually cooking a healthy meal, these action items are what create the change. So I really want to highlight that, with the emotional empowerment program, this is not about just giving you more information. Actually, the trainings and the videos every week are really going to be short, sweet. And the bulk of what we're going to be doing is applying the tools, applying what you're learning, and you're going to be held accountable with our group, with our community, to actually do the homework every week. I hate that word. My husband always jokes, stop using the word homework. So we'll call them action items. We all have some trauma around the word homework, probably, right? So this is fun work. We'll call it fun work, where you get to actually apply what you're learning, so that at the end of these 8 weeks, you actually think and behave and operate and see yourself as a completely different version of yourself. How does that sound? Right? Okay. So I really wanted to highlight that, this isn't just something that you're going to be soaking in more information and not doing anything with. This is all about doing. We're going to be doing so that the things from within shift. So who's this program for? I really want to highlight this because this is not for everyone. This definitely takes a very committed and ready type of woman to really step into what I call being an emotionally empowered woman. So this program is going to be for you if you notice that you turn to food whenever challenges or difficult situations come up in life. If food is your emotional go-to crutch, or if you've been on the sugar roller coaster your whole life for years and years of decades, and you just can't seem to get off. Maybe every January you keep saying, I'm going to go get off sugar. And it just keeps coming back. This is also going to be for you if you're constantly looking outside of yourself for the answers, constantly seeking and searching and asking other people for the answers, and only being left feeling overwhelmed with all the conflicting information out there that then ultimately keeps you stuck from doing anything. This is also a program for you if you don't trust your body. Okay, this is going to be a big piece of what we're going to be diving into, is learning to trust your body. So if you feel like your body's always working against you, or you really just don't trust the inner wisdom and your intuition because you've been so disconnected for years, then you're in the right place. If you resonate with being an emotional eater, we're obviously going to be learning to make friends with our emotions and really diving into a lot of repatterning of our emotional eating habits at a deep, deep root level, so those patterns are gone. And also, this is going to be big supporter for you if you are someone who gets really stuck in the negative self-talk, the shame, the guilt, whenever you eat something quote unquote unhealthy. Whenever you have a glass of wine, or you choose to have one cookie, notice your thoughts. Notice what's coming up for you in those moments. And if it's unkind, if you're really hard on yourself, if you feel like a failure all the time, then you are so in the right place. Okay. I'm so glad that you're listening, and I'm so glad that you're here at this time. This week is really, really perfect timing, because what this program is going to help you do, and where we're going to get to, is really building a deep sense of awareness around the root causes at the base of the patterns with food, right? So what is actually going on for you? We all have slightly different root causes. I mean, most of them are kind of the same. I've seen this now over the last 3 years very clearly. We're not that unique, by the way. we actually all have so much in common, and you'll see this. It's always the biggest piece when I host these programs in these groups. Women come in and go, "What? I thought I was the only one struggling with that." And that's not true. We are really all in this together, especially in these inner wounds and these inner pieces that are at the root for us. So this program is really going to be a deep dive into learning to feel. Okay, this is a big part. We're going to be walking you through week by week the actual emotional freedom process, I'm going to call it, right? To help you step into emotional empowerment and be this emotionally empowered woman, really learning to feel, and then learning the tools to help you process those emotions in a healthy way, so you no longer go to food. Your new go-to by the end of this program will be some sort of beautiful, healthy, amazing tool that works for you uniquely. And we'll figure out, you're going to be figuring out what your unique go-tos are, because they're slightly different for all of us. And we're going to be going through all of that. You're going to be building new neural pathways to process these emotions without food and reconnect with your authentic self. This is one of the biggest gifts, in my humble opinion, of what we're going to be doing together, is really uncovering your true self and saying hello to her and welcoming her and telling her that you trust her. This is going to be a big journey, and really learning to trust your body again, learning to trust your intuition and see your body as a tool and a gift and a beautiful supporter of your health, as something that's actually there to help you, not fight against you. And we're really going to be tapping into the sense of making healthy eating choices that become easy. They're easy. And there's this sense of peace and freedom when it comes to food. And there's this no longer this drive and this control and this quote unquote need for sugar to get through the day. You're going to feel this sense of ultimate food freedom, and beyond just food, freedom from within in all areas of your life. So we're going to be definitely diving into a lot. That's just, the quick notes of some of the big areas we're going to be focusing on, and obviously so much more. If you're someone right now that is disconnected and overwhelmed, I call the disconnected and overwhelmed woman. And this is where most people and most of my clients that come work for me are right now. This is where they are, right? At war with their body and and food. Disconnected and overwhelmed women are stuck in the guilt and shame food spiral day after day. They use food to fill the void, to get through those tough days, right? When stress comes up, or heavy emotions, or sadness, or depression, or anxiety, they stay on this diet and sugar roller coaster every single year, constantly trying and failing and really, really beating themselves up for that. They take on responsibility for others' feelings. This is a big one. That so many of us do. We feel like it's our responsibility to make other people happy. So there's a sense of real disconnection from where our responsibility and our feelings begin and where someone else's starts. Where on the other side of this, and what you're going to be shifting into in the program, is really stepping into being an emotionally empowered woman. So this is the opposite. This is the type of woman who uses supportive tools to handle life's ups and downs. And she knows she's got it. She knows, like, hey, something really difficult is happening. I'm allowing myself to feel it. I'm doing the things that really support me, and getting out in nature, having a bath, moving my body, finding those tools, and those become second nature. Those are just how she operates. Emotionally empowered women feel a deep sense of love and acceptance for themselves. This is a woman who knows who she is, loves who she is, knows she's worthy, and no longer turns to food to fill the void, numb out, or cope with life's difficulties. This is literally freedom. This is ultimate food freedom and, such a sense of power. This emotionally empowered woman knows how powerful she is. She knows that her voice matters. She knows how to set boundaries and to look after herself first and putting herself first and really accepting and honoring that in a deep, deep way. And when we operate as the emotionally empowered woman, food no longer has control over us. So we're really going to be diving into a lot in this upcoming program. And, I really just wanted to share those bits and pieces with you so you can have an understanding of, is this right for me? Is this something that I'm ready for? Is this something, that I'm ready to finally get off this roller coaster, this diet mentality, the black and white thinking, the constantly searching for more information as the answer, and not trusting myself, right? And who you really are. And it is going to be such an incredible experience for you. And one of the side benefits of what we're going to be healing and supporting together is actually being in a safe and non-judgmental environment with other women. So the way I host my programs, if you haven't already picked up on my energy around this, is, number one priority is to create safe space. So this means a space where you can finally be vulnerable, be open, be raw and real and authentic, and practice being your true self. And doing this in an environment with other women is one of the most healing, experiences you're going to have in your whole life. Because let's face it, most of us have been hurt by women our whole lives. We've been judged. We've been turned on. We've been stabbed in the back. I know I have been. So this collection of coming together and ultimately leading with love and non-judgment and safety and openness and vulnerability is one of the most healing, transformational places to ever do this deeper work. And I really pride myself in creating that space. And you can ask any of my past members of programs, they can attest to that real deep connection and love that takes place within our container of our community. And it's why I do what I do. It's why I love hosting these programs. And it actually reminds me of, I want to share with you a couple examples. There's so many clients that have done this inner work, in my last programs, and have just totally transformed their lives because of it. So I want to share with you about Angeline. She's someone that came into one of my programs last year. And when she started working with me and joined the group, she was in a place where she was taking on responsibility for everyone else's emotions. Okay. She didn't really have those emotional boundaries, and she wasn't sure, where do my emotions start and where does somebody else's end, was all her responsibility. And she'd been doing that since childhood, and it was absolutely draining her. And, combining this with really not knowing who she was, not really knowing her sense of identity, having grown up with siblings and really getting lost in the crowd as a child, and not really knowing who she was and what her unique traits and beautiful, amazing gifts were. And through the work and through, being a part of the program and being in this community, Angeline was able to really, really start tapping into this deep sense of love and worth for herself. She also started understanding her patterns and where they came from, which was really eye-opening for her, because she could start to have compassion for these pieces of her and these beliefs and these operating systems that really started for her in childhood. And shining the light on those really helped take away their power for her. Now she's someone who is really loving and compassionate with herself mentally when she chooses to have sugar, which is very rarely. She rarely chooses to have sugar now. And it's not the tool that she uses whenever she's stressed or whenever someone steps on a boundary or triggers her. So it's so powerful to see her now no longer taking on other people's emotions, really knowing where her boundaries are around, that's not mine, and I'm going to look after me first. And this is now a woman that I see in front of me, a year later, prioritizing herself and actually looking after herself first instead of people pleasing and tending to everyone else. It's been really, really incredible to watch Angeline's journey. And I'm sure she's listening to this episode. So thank you, Angeline, for letting me be a guide on this journey, because it's been such a gift to really watch you transform in this really powerful way. Another woman that comes to mind, that I'm thinking of joining my program last year in this work that we did, inner work, that really monumentally shifted her life was Christine. So if you're listening to this, Christine, huge shout out to you. She was really at a low in her life when she joined. I remember the first call on our program last January, and really seeing this shell of a woman, someone who was so out of touch with herself and couldn't really see a way out. It was a real low. It was a real low point for her. And joining this program and working with me in this community was her last ditch effort. And it was so disheartening to see someone who was so disconnected from who she really was and the beauty that she really was, and really having no idea how to connect with her feelings, right? Using food, like most of us do, to fill this void, right? Or to numb out whenever something difficult happened. That was her go-to multiple times a day, because life was hard. And there were a lot of challenges coming up for her. And through the weeks that unfolded and the work that we did together in community, I saw Christine start speaking up for herself, start allowing herself to feel when difficult things came up. She celebrated so many times with our community. Like I had a difficult day and I just supported myself with it. I felt it and I let it flow through me. I didn't turn to food. And every time she did that, she got stronger and stronger and more confident. She really started letting go of these old beliefs and these old ways of being that she'd been taught, from society, from her childhood, and really started uncovering who she was underneath, and really stepping into this version of herself as someone who shows up, who's someone who's empowered and knows her power and loves herself and speaks up for herself and sets boundaries that are healthy and supportive for her. It's just been absolutely mind-blowing to witness her transformation. You wouldn't even recognize her. If you spoke to Christine a year ago and today, it would be just night and day. And it's been such a gift to see that transformation. And these are just a couple examples of many, of how when we shift this inner world and the way we see ourselves and the way we operate, how everything outside of ourselves shifts, including our relationship with sugar, our relationship with food, our relationships with our husbands, our jobs, our friendships. Everything changes in a really beautiful and powerful way. So thank you for tuning into this episode. I'm so excited. If you've got this far, I'm willing to bet that you're excited to step into being an emotionally empowered woman. And, the invitation is here for you. Again, a reminder that doors close on April 14th. So in just a few short days, to come and join the 8-week emotional empowerment live group program. It is going to be such an incredible journey. And I cannot wait to invite you there, to see you there, to support you in creating and stepping fully into the amazing, beautiful, worthy woman that I know you are and that you deserve to really be. So thank you so much for being here, for following along with the boot camp last week. And I cannot wait to see you in the program. See you soon. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you're loving what we talked about today, please remember to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone you love. And if you're ready to dive deeper into discovering your root causes and patterns that are keeping you hooked on sugar, be sure to check out our brand new free workshop series that will help you kick emotional eating for good. Find the link to download this free series and other amazing resources in the show notes below.